As we mentioned earlier on, workers at the Durban Dock are protesting in solidarity with the Palestinian people. The group is refusing to offload an Israeli ship that docked at the harbour. We cross live now to Jeenah, who is Executive Director of the Afro-Middle East Centre. Very good evening to you, Mr. Jeenah. Thanks so much for speaking to us. So, what do you know about the situation that is unfolding there at the moment? Have you been informed officially?
Unfolding where? At the harbour?
Yes.
So what happened was that the ship was supposed to have been offloaded tomorrow, and the unions had agreed that they would get their workers not to offload. But Transnet went against the normal protocols, including COVID protocols, and started the offloading this morning before the union reps could talk to their members. So we found that by this afternoon, part of the ship, about 20% of the ship had already been offloaded, and it seems that they're going to continue that through the night. But the protest tomorrow morning, according to the organizers of the protest, is going to go ahead. The union reps will be there, and they're expecting a good number of people to come and protest the Zim Line's ship. And the idea is that this will be the beginning of a campaign against Zim Line's docking in any South African port.
And just looking at the notice that I've seen of the planned protests, it's something like Durban to Pietermaritzburg and quite a number of areas that are mentioned there. So is this likely to be a widespread protest, do you believe?
Well, for now, the protest is limited to the port, because it's specifically targeting the ship. But of course, the protests have been taking place for the past 2 weeks, all over the country: Cape Town, Pretoria, Johannesburg, Gqeberha, all over. So yes, in fact, I think tomorrow's and over the weekend, these will be the last protests, at least for now.
And the reason I ask this is if it's widespread, is it likely to have an impact on the import and exportation of Israeli goods and also the port of Durban itself? Is there going to be popular support for this?
Well, the organizers are hoping so. The intention would picket off the Zim Line, the intention is that this would be the beginning of putting pressure on government and Transnet. And their hope is that South Africa should stop imports and exports from and to Israel. And if I can just say, I heard the Jewish Board of Deputies person earlier on. Really, our center, the Afro-Middle East Center, did a whole study around the relationships between South Africa and Israel. And our conclusion is that, in fact, South Africa would really be better off if we didn't have those trade links with Israel. Firstly, because we won't suffer, and secondly, because there's a number of areas in which we can grow those industries locally. For example, diamond beneficiation. There's no reason that we should be sending our diamonds to Israel to be beneficiated when we could build that industry locally. Secondly, industries like the security industry. That, in fact, South Africa, even politically and in terms of security, will be better off without the input of the Israeli former defense force members, etc., into private security companies, etc., in South Africa. So really, breaking off relations with Israel would serve us better than harm us.
And just finally, Mr. Jeenah, what is your sense of South Africa as a collective? Where is it moving to? We're starting to see more and more institutions release statements that are condemning the violence, but a great deal of them in solidarity with the Palestinian people, trying not to choose side, but making it very clear that this is an unequal conflict, so to speak. Are we going to see South Africa then forced to take a stronger stance?
From the government perspective, we saw that the initial DIRCO statement was very bland and kind of the usual rhetoric. But over the week of the attack on Gaza, those statements from DIRCO as well as the president himself personally strengthened. And by early this week, we saw a very strong statement from President Cyril Ramaphosa, as well as a very strong statement from our ambassador in New York, delivered to the Security Council. So So government is certainly changing or at least strengthening its position. In terms of the broader South African society, we're finding organizations that have not dealt with this issue or any foreign international issues coming out and making statements about it. And I think that this reflects the kind of global sense. I mean, not that this is someone that I actually follow, but when Paris Hilton tweets in support of the Palestinian people, then I think, it certainly must mean something.
Thank you so much for speaking to us, Jeenah from the Afro-Middle East Center. Thank you very much.